05.
CBS Evening News. I'm Steve Close, sitting in tonight for the morning show. Good evening. It's Monday morning in Beijing, and another night and another reporting deadline has passed. Still, tens of thousands of Chinese students and demonstrators continue to occupy Tiananmen Square.
Defiance of the government. The Chinese army has issued a warning that it's ready to enforce martial law, but an assault to clear the square predicted now for days is yet to come. CBS News correspondent Susan Spencer is standing by in Beijing with the latest. Susan?
Steve, right now the square itself is very quiet, but as you can imagine, this was another tense night. The government yesterday took over all the official media, and since then has been broadcasting those warnings that the army will act. But the 5 a.m. deadline that the students said had been set passed a couple of hours ago, and nothing at all happened. This is understandably keeping the anxiety level pretty high, and whenever it seems to drop off, another set of military helicopters will fly by, sometimes dropping leaflets warning everybody out. But the Army is waiting just outside the city, armored personnel carriers, troops armed with AK-47s, and there are rumors of thousands more hiding in the underground subway system. Above ground, the sheer numbers of people just stop them. People surround trucks. They tell soldiers, you can't do this to us. The soldiers just sit there looking bewildered. And the square itself, after more than a week, is getting pretty squalid. But every time one of these supposed deadlines passes, it seems to energize the students there. They feel as if they've won another victory. Steve?
Susan, do you think this is a case of the Army being unable to move against the students or just unwilling to move against the students?
I think it's both unable and unwilling to move. The demonstrators have set up these roadblocks of people and buses and garbage dumpsters. They've set those up everywhere around the city. But we've also heard stories of at least one commander who refused orders to take his unit into Beijing. And then you see these moving scenes of people pleading with the soldiers, and the soldiers sitting there looking as if they couldn't hurt a soul. It's really an open question, if and when the orders do come, whether or not they would be carried out if it were obvious that hundreds of people were going to die.
Thank you, Susan. Susan Spencer in Beijing. The largest popular Chinese uprising since the communist takeover in 1949 has turned into what amounts to a war on nerves. Bruce Morton has been on Tiananmen Square and has this report on a morning of tension in the heart of Beijing.
Tiananmen Square, the dark before dawn, 5 o'clock Sunday morning. The students have heard rumors of troops and tear gas all night, but they don't think the troops are coming.
It is not the troops want to come here, but the citizens have stopped them.
Some slept, some marched, flags flew. All of these people, of course, are breaking the law. At 6 a.m., a police honor guard arrives, not to arrest the lawbreakers, but to raise the flag, as they do every morning. The crowd, those lawbreakers, revolutionaries, the crowd sings the national anthem, softly. When the ceremony ends, they applaud. 40 minutes later, the choppers arrive. They are not as popular. Demonstrators shake fists as 5 helicopters buzz the square in what is becoming a morning ritual. Nothing happens. Sleep continues for some. Others read the paper. Others keep riding around or marching. They are patriots. There are many flags. Sanitation is a problem. The students try to clean up, but concede that trash is becoming difficult. Someone says the police are coming. They don't. Who comes? American tourists. There are fewer people in the square this morning, but still too many for the government to force out unless it is really prepared to use force, and it hasn't shown that determination yet. He hopes for a settlement, some concessions from both sides.
For both sides to give in to a certain degree.
Serious discussion of issues, medics at work, cleanup, sleep, and for some, a chance to try to fly their Mickey Mouse kite. Nothing like this has ever happened here. Mao looks on, Mickey briefly flies. Revolution. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Beijing.
The crowds in and around Tiananmen Square and in the suburbs have ranged between 200,000 and 1 million during the last 24 hours. They've manned barricades and kept columns of motorized infantry from clearing the square. Barry Peterson has been parts of the city where the Army has tried to assert its presence.
The people of Beijing were out in force Sunday, manning hastily made barricades. Anyone could be a traffic cop, except apparently traffic cops. At an intersection southwest of the city, the Army was on its way to surround the city. Instead, as they have before, the people surrounded the Army. And deciding their numbers alone might not be enough, they pulled buses in front of the convoy. Troops also tried to move through a nearby neighborhood. They ended up blocked and mired in mud, which delighted the local children, who got a peek inside some of the more than 60 armored personnel carriers and a look at a machine gun. The soldiers got a lecture. "You're wearing uniforms," said this man, "but you're Chinese just like us. Think about it." The lucky soldiers were those northwest of the city. They had been stopped in the cooling shade on this hot day. Student leaders and others had them surrounded, and the soldiers became the main attraction for Sunday sightseeing. These soldiers have been here since Friday, and indeed some of the leaders are telling people, leave them alone, be nice to them. They're tired. You could drive down almost any major street far from the center of town on this afternoon and find the Army trucks stretched, sometimes for miles, stretched and stalled. Harry Peterson, CBS News, Beijing.
An estimated 1 million people rallied today in Hong Kong in support of the student uprising in China. That's 1/6 of Hong Kong's entire population. Police said it was the largest demonstration in the colony's history. Coming up next on tonight's CBS Evening News, what President Bush had to say about the crisis in China, and later on Inside Sunday, something new under the sun and under the earth.
It took 2,000 years, but a revolutionary discovery is changing the way men think about coloring their gray hair. It's called Just for Men, from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men, and in 5 minutes, shampoo out. Your gray is blended away, leaving your natural-looking color. 5 minutes. Here, look at me. Just for Men leaves your hair looking healthy and fuller, and it won't fade or wash out. Just for Men, in the men's hair care section.
Oh boy, new fruit and fiber. What? Well, they just added 25% more dates, raisins, and walnuts to the dates, raisins, and walnuts. Actually, it's so delicious, they ought to call it fruit. Hey, morning.
New Post Fruit and Fiber cereal, now with 25% more dates, raisins, and walnuts.
Because there's a man in Chicago planning his retirement this year. Because there's a family in Boston who hopes to send their kids to college someday. Because there's a doctor in New York looking forward to the day she'll open her own clinic. Because every investor is different, with dreams all their own. Dean Witter measures success, one investor at a time. Dean Witter, a member of the Sears Financial Network.
With low back pain, every step shoots pain. Up here. Know what helps?
Clinically proven Back Guard, a shoe insert. Watch how it absorbs foot shock to relieve low back pain.
Amazing. Something down here can help up here.
Back Guard from Dr. Scholl's.
President Bush made his first substantive comments on China today, on the crisis there, speaking in Boston. Mr. Bush also defended his policy towards the Soviet Union and his position on short-range NATO missiles. More from White House correspondent Jacqueline Adams.
Amid reports of an imminent crackdown by Chinese troops, President Bush, at a joint press conference with French President Mitterrand, urged the students protesting in Tiananmen Square not to give up their struggle for democracy.
Peaceful, and continue to fight for what you believe in, stand up for what you believe in.
That's just what a group of Chinese American students did outside the Boston University commencement where Mr. Bush spoke. For all his rhetorical support of freedom, though, the president doesn't want to be accused of inciting violence or interfering in Chinese affairs.
I would encourage restraint. I do not want to see bloodshed. We aspire to see the Chinese people have democracy, but we do not exhort in a way that is going to stir up a military confrontation.
The crisis in China underscored the message Mr. Bush came to Boston to deliver. The NATO allies must make certain that changes within the communist bloc are reality, not rhetoric.
While an ideological earthquake is shaking asunder the very communist foundation, the West is being tested by complacency.
The The president was clearly embarrassed, though, when President Mitterrand was asked if he, like Bush spokesman Marlon Fitzwater, thinks Mikhail Gorbachev is a drugstore cowboy.
Il faut se méfier des caricatures.
I think that one must be wary of caricatures. Mr. Gorbachev is worth very much more than that.
Caricatures and rhetorical flourishes aside, caution remains the hallmark of the Bush approach to both the Soviet Union and China. The reason? The president and his aides know that little they say can have much impact there. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, Boston.
The Soviet Union is also experiencing social protests on an unprecedented scale. At least 25,000 demonstrators turned out today in Moscow. Jonathan Sanders reports.
A united front of radical activists attacked the Soviet establishment and called for a complete overhaul of the Communist Party. They warned that conservative bureaucrats are trying to derail reform. Outspoken leaders like Boris Yeltsin claimed the party and the country were in crisis. Only politicians elected by the people, he said, not career party officials, can find the solutions. Yesterday at a rally outside Moscow, Yeltsin claimed 4 years of perestroika have brought almost nothing, a little half step forward and 2 steps back. It's been a weekend of rallies and demonstrations. Everyone from Georgians to Kurds are meeting and issuing demands. Most are aimed at the newly elected people's deputies, including many progressives who will meet later this week. But many meetings are born out of anger. Anger over the killings in Tbilisi, anger that 2 newly elected deputies were fired from their jobs as criminal prosecutors for alleging the names of Politburo members turned up in their investigations of corruption. On the road to radical reform, the new Soviet politicians and the newly activized Soviet people think they're ahead of their government and far ahead of the official Communist Party. Jonathan Sanders, CBS News, Moscow.
Poland's first encounter with democracy in a half a century comes with parliamentary elections in 2 weeks. One party candidate is copying the style of the U.S. president as both sides campaign hard. Bert Quint reports.
Lech Wałęsa is looking every inch the kingmaker as he bustles around the country to get out the vote for opposition candidates. The communists don't have a Wałęsa to rally around, so most of their candidates for parliament look lost. Like these two, even when they brought musicians to a Warsaw park yesterday and arranged for hard-to-find food and goods to be put on sale as a come-on, they could get only few voters to sit down and talk. People won't come to see most Communist Party candidates, so some go out to press the flesh where they can find it. Longin Pastuszak, an expert on American affairs, is financing his campaign with proceeds from a book he's written about George Bush.
I'm getting up early morning, 5 o'clock, shaking hands, asking for support, giving out leaflets. Maybe it's type of a Jimmy Carter campaign, but I learned this in the United States.
One thing Pastuszak and many other communists don't tell the crowds is that they are party members. Even the prime minister avoids referring to himself as a communist. Obviously, the party label is a liability. Opinion polls conducted by the regime are being kept secret, a strong indication its candidates are doing badly. But Solidarity has a credibility problem, too. People see Wałęsa on state-run television, his union proudly out in the open, and some wonder, have they sold out to the regime? Many polls apparently don't understand the complicated deal that opens the door to democracy, but temporarily guarantees the party a degree of control. Nevertheless, people say, they would rather vote for a Solidarity they're not quite sure of than for communists they've never been able to trust. Bert Quint, CBS News, Warsaw.
Britain said today that the Soviet Union has expelled 8 British diplomats and 3 journalists. It was retaliation for Britain's expulsion on Friday of 11 Soviet diplomats and journalists that it had accused of espionage.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, Josie, would you please read yours?
My summer vacation. We left for 2 weeks to go to Yellowstone. That was Saturday. Then Daddy's money got stolen and we had to come home. That was Sunday.
It could happen to you right here in the U.S., so don't carry cash. Carry American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
BMW 325IS, Mercedes 560 SL, outstanding. But compare them to Riata by Buick. Riata has more standard luxury features than BMW, for thousands less. And Riata's contemporary styling is less than half Mercedes price. In fact, Consumer's Digest calls Riata one of the best buys in domestic cars. Riata by Buick. The competition pales by comparison.
The great American road belongs to Buick.
If every time you look around it seems like your rug is dirty, try Woolite Spot and Stain Rug Cleaner. Because it contains the ingredient Fiberpel, it keeps your heavy traffic areas cleaner longer than the other liquid spray. Trust Woolite Spot and Stain Rug Cleaner.
Hot coffee? No problem for my dentures.
Heat-resistant Fixodent spreads evenly to keep on fixing loose spots, no matter how often it gets hot.
I can drink hot coffee all day. And still help a lady.
Fixodent, and forget it.
A congressman and a former congressman face jury trials beginning tomorrow. In Columbus, Ohio, Congressman Don Lukens is charged with having sex with a young girl. Lukens says he's not guilty. And in Atlanta, former Congressman Pat Swindle goes on trial, charged with lying to a grand jury about his knowledge of a scheme to launder drug money. Swindle lost his re-election bid last year. An unusual and emotional custody battle moves into District Columbia Court of Appeals this week. A hearing will be held to determine whether the mother in the dispute should be released from jail. CBS News correspondent Rita Braver is following the case.
Dr. Elizabeth Morgan, plastic surgeon, author, mother, has spent the last 21 months in jail, one of the longest civil contempt incarcerations in U.S. history. She is there because of what she refuses to do. Relinquish her 6.5-year-old daughter Hillary for a court-ordered visit to her father, a man Morgan charges frequently molested their child.
Rape. I mean, rape, vaginal rape, anal rape, and oral sodomy are the three most common abuses my daughter suffered.
Dr. Eric Fortage, an oral surgeon, Hillary's father.
Have you ever molested your daughter Hillary?
Never, ever, never. I would give my life for the little girl.
The case highlights the extremes to which couples will go in child custody battles. This dispute has raged since Hillary was 2.5, with mother and father each amassing teams of legal and medical experts to disprove each other's charges. When the courts insisted that Morgan let Fortage see Hillary in the presence of a court-appointed guardian, Morgan videotaped this pre-visit scene. But the D.C. judge sided with Fortage, apparently also believing his denials of allegations that Fortage abused Hillary's stepsister as well. In fact, Judge Herbert Dixon granted Fortage an unsupervised visit with Hillary. Morgan responded by sending Hillary into hiding. Dixon sent Morgan to jail for contempt.
Free Elizabeth Morgan now!
Her incarceration has inspired protests and demonstrations from supporters, but it's made Eric Fortage dig in his heels, questioning Morgan's mental stability and accusing her of exploiting Hillary.
Listen, I would give my daughter up. I would give her up if I thought that she could live a normal life.
Morgan says she'll never let Hillary spend time with Fortage.
I mean, to see her suffering is... I can't even talk about it without crying. To see her suffering is what haunts me. It's not jail.
And she says that if she loses her battle in the Court of Appeals, she's prepared to remain in jail until Hillary is 18. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
Searchers in Peru today found the wreckage of a U.S. government-owned plane that crashed in the Andes. All 9 people on board were killed, including 6 Americans. And some of the Americans reportedly were U.S. drug enforcement agents.
U.S. Sprint proudly announces fiber optic 800 services for businesses large and small. No matter what you're selling by phone, your customers will sound closer and your calls will cost less. Get America's only nationwide 100% fiber optic 800 service for your business. Call Sprint now and talk with the best.
You're looking at an auto accident that never happened, because Liberty Mutual Insurance continually searches to prevent auto accidents and injuries. In helping to pioneer safety belts, we helped make driving safer for everyone. Caring for people is why America believes in liberty.
Almost home.
America believes in liberty. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Ladies, now you can stop shaving and enjoy beautiful hair-free legs for weeks at a time with the Lady Remington Smooth and Silky Rechargeable Hair Removal System. Its hygienic rotating roller quickly removes hair below the skin. Lady Remington.
After you've produced the yearly report in record time and made color part of your winning proposal, you'll know why Canon is the most popular copier in America. From personal to color laser copying, the choice is Canon.
In San Diego, there was a major breakthrough today. A California condor chick broke through its shell with a little help from some friends at the Wild Animal Park. The chick is one of only 31 of its species left in the world. Its first meal, minced mice. We're fast coming up on Memorial Day weekend, the unofficial start of summer when millions of Americans head to the park. Tonight on Inside Sunday, a look at what's happening inside two of America's national parks and at the impact on would-be visitors. We begin with a new discovery and an age-old debate.
This is the Carlsbad Caverns National Park in New Mexico.
Okay, I'm away.
And 120 feet down this hole, accessible only to skilled cave explorers like Dave McClurg, lies the newest gem of the Park Service.
Well, we think of this as the best cave and the best, most significant cave discovery probably in the last 30, 40 years. And going into this cave in its pristine condition is a real privilege.
The Lechuguilla Cave, with its lunar-like landscape, was discovered just 2 years ago, and already 33 miles of underground terrain has been mapped. Still not fully explored, it is already deeper and longer than the nearby Carlsbad Caverns. The chandeliers and flowers of delicate gypsum are the product of an environment and climatic conditions that have remained unchanged for 250 million years. Their discovery has touched off a debate as to who shall be allowed to view this artistry of the ages.
There's nothing wrong with letting people see the cave. The question is, how do you let them see it?
The Park Service wants the cave declared the nation's first underground wilderness area, which means it would have to be left exactly the way it is, accessible only to trained cave explorers and beyond the reach of the multitudes who annually visit the park.
The presence of people moving through the cave, the presence of people encountering some of the geological formations damages to a certain degree that irreplaceable resource.
Above ground, the people of Carlsbad, New Mexico have a different idea in mind. They say declaring the Lechuguilla a wilderness cave would close off forever the prospect of development and the promise of increased tourism. Some want to see an elevator installed in Lechuguilla like the one at Carlsbad, perhaps even an amphitheater and an underground cafeteria.
We don't expect to make an underground Disneyland, but now that there's 32 plus miles of the cave, there's plenty of cave there for everybody. It's the way we feel.
Wow.
New Mexico's 2 U.S. senators are proposing a study to resolve the debate, which is as old as the Park Service itself. How do you protect natural splendor for people to enjoy? And if people can't enjoy it, what's the use of protecting it?
Coming up next, a national park on the critical list. Inside Sunday continues in a moment on the CBS Evening News.
You're on your way.
Who would have figured it? I grow up in the city and end up testing products for the farm. Like this one from Dow. We study its effects in the classroom and check the results in the field. It yields more food, more profits for family farmers, and greater groundwater protection. But Dow gave me a grant to find out how to make it work even better. You know, I like being a city kid working in a cornfield.
Dow lets you do great things.
We're here to gently remind you that you can depend on your mom.
Phillips Milk of Magnesia, the laxative for dependable overnight relief.
It helps your body work naturally. So it's gentle.
Nobody treats you better than Mom.
Mom knows best. Leave it to Mom.
Rich stain and tough polyurethane protection in one. Polyshades by Minwax. Get a beautiful finish in half the time. A finish to be proud of. Polyshades by Minwax.
Cash or charge?
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder.
I've got to have it.
There's still one more place to comparison shop.
I don't know where to start.
Here, by choosing the card that actually pays you cash. Cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
It's the one.
It's perfect.
It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
There are more than 340 national parks in this country, ranging from historical buildings in Boston to the vast uninhabited tundra in Alaska. The Wilderness Society says 10 of these parks are in big trouble. Reporter Aaron Hayes went to Florida to visit the national park at the top of everyone's critical list.
There is nothing quite like it in the world. Everglades Park is an international treasure. A treasure Park Superintendent Mike Finley sees slipping away.
Right now, this park is dying. This ecosystem is dying. What's killing this park is not readily visible. It's insidious.
There are few of nature's balancing acts so precarious as the Everglades. Life here depends on a delicate sheet of water moving along the base of the grasses. This has been called a river of grass. The trouble today is the river is polluted.
Polluted by a chemical soup, served up in large part by farms outside the park on land that once was Everglades. Fertilizers and farm waste flowing out have already produced acres of weeds that threaten to choke life out of the park.
It's like replacing a wheat field with a field of cactus. You have vegetation, but it's of little or no value to anyone.
Many blame Florida state government for caving into agricultural interests. Critics include the U.S. government, which is suing Florida to stop delivering contaminated water to the Everglades.
The point of the suit is to see that public agencies carry out their responsibilities.
Florida says it's cleaning up other waters. The Everglades are next.
We think we're going to have a plan by the fall of this year to do that.
But as weeds grow here at the rate of 4 acres a day, environmentalists say the time for planning is over. It's time to act.
You can study something to death. Meanwhile, it's slipping away from you. You've lost the system, and then all the studies in the world aren't going to necessarily bring it back.
Biologists warn if changes don't come soon, much of the life here now may be gone in 10 years.
They won't be gone off the face of the earth, but they'll be gone from the Everglades, which was the heart of their world.
The Park Service says Everglades National Park may be little more than a memory by the turn of the century if difficult decisions aren't made very soon. Aaron Hayes, CBS News, Everglades National Park.
The experts agree that if the park is going to survive, it will have to expand beyond its present boundaries, and there's some hope. There's wide support now for a bill before Congress that would add more than 100,000 acres to the Everglades National Park. That's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather will be back tomorrow. And later tonight, Richard Schlesinger with the CBS Sunday Night News. I'm Steve Croft in New York. Good night.
China in rebellion. One network news organization performed at dazzling peaks and had a virtual lock on the story. You always know when it's CBS News.
This is CBS.
Good afternoon, I'm Bob Williams. Coming up next on Eyewitness News, so far so good. Farmers hope this year's crop will put money in the bank. Local leaders work to give Music City top billing as one of this year's vacation hotspots. And the city of Brentwood parties as it celebrates his 20th birthday. Those stories and more coming up next on Eyewitness News.
Oh, honey, don't come near me, please.
Oh, I can't. No, it's not a good idea.
Oh, no, baby, not right now, no.
Stop, sweetie.